Friends and folks, we are back with our pre-recorded episode of the Kaiju Lounge, your home for humor, opinions, and nerd shit. I'm your boss monster, Noah Waterman. As mentioned before, we are not doing this live like we normally do. We will be back live Monday, next Monday, with a full live episode, hopefully an interview. I'm trying to line some of that stuff up right now. But in the meantime, we have something big to talk about here. Some big news. I think news that none of us was really expecting, though we were all kind of hoping for, had dropped. But to get into that, we need to talk a little bit, starting with Chris Pratt. The further to the center of America you get, the more infatuated with him people seem to be. Now, it's easy to see why he was cast as Mario in the Mario Brothers movie, specifically from a marketing standpoint, but the gaming community did not seem happy. That said, it did not deter the world from seeing the film, which became the second top-grossing blockbuster of this year. And look, it was good, too. A ton of fun. Like, Nintendo truly showed how successful a video game franchise can be in the theater. But are they pushing their luck? See, this week, Miyamoto made a statement that stopped me dead in my spirit tracks. The legendary developer is teaming up with Hollywood franchise player Avi Arad to bring the Legend of Zelda to the big screen in live action. Like, it was only a matter of time before Link got his day in the spotlight, but I did not think this was the route it would take. The Legend of Zelda is an amazing series, but it's also weird. Like, it gets really weird, and trying to adapt it to live action could be nuts. Like, can you picture a P-hat in live action? Or somebody IRL calling this a Stalfos and not a skeleton? Hell, Tears of the Kingdom's scariest, fiercest enemy is called a Gleeok. That sounds like an alien you shoehorn into a sitcom when the ratings are bad. Gleeok. Gleeok. That coming from a live human mouth does not sound threatening. Being true to the material and being good in this medium while also appealing to the non-hardcore fans, all of which this film is going to have to do, is a tall order. So Avi, Miyamoto-san, I'm here to help. Let's build this movie out in a way that makes sense. Now, starting with what we know so far, the film will be directed by Wes Spall, who already kind of looks like a Zelda NPC, so we're off to a good start. Like, he doesn't have a lot under his belt, but I have seen Maze Runner while high when my wife left town for the weekend, and I gotta say, visually, I can see how that helped him land the job. It seems like a good fit, so I'm glad we're starting there, but we need a story. The Legend of Zelda is famous for its narrative, but which story do you take? Every game, minus Tears and Masks, starts fresh. I'm not sure you can just have new Links in a new Hyrule saving a new Zelda every film. See, Zelda is to Iron Man what Mario is to Spider-Man. Like, Zelda is incredibly important, and the layman knows Zelda exists, but those games aren't in the zeitgeist the way that Mario is. And so you are still introducing a large audience to this world for the first time. So what story do you choose? Well, Zelda 1 and 2 are out. There's barely a story there to go off of, and today's Hollywood needs something meatier than Save the Princess. I'd also take out the mobile ones, because a lot of them had these very specific gimmicks that I think only worked in juxtaposition with the more normal games. Like, look, if you're shrinking Link to be with the Minish people in the first movie, then common viewers are going to see that as your baseline, although it's not representative of your brand. The exception here for mobile might be Link's Awakening, but many articles have already explained how that game was directly inspired by Twin Peaks, and if you aren't getting David Lynch to direct that, then the weirdest aspects of that game will likely fall flat. A Link to the Past could be cool, but its big moment is halfway through the game, you get transported into the world of darkness, and with only 2-ish hours to tell the story, you might be rushing it a little bit. I can see Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess, but honestly, I think Midna and Fi could really, really turn off audiences. And again, there's the same issue as the mobile games. flying through the skies or turning into a wolf aren't necessarily tent poles of the franchise. And I think you'll have moviegoers wondering if this is what Link is all about. Now, Wind Waker could be cool, but Wind Waker's whole aesthetic was cel-shaded cartoon vibe. Are you really going to tell me that Nintendo's first foray into live action, well, modern foray anyway, is going to be its most Saturday morning cartoon-like entry? I mean, they would have just stuck with Illumination. Now here is where everyone gets mad at me. I think Ocarina is overrated. I know, it's fine. Thumbs down the video if you need. Engagement's still engagement. I explain a lot of my reasoning on this episode of the best game of all time, but the short version is that it just doesn't hold up. Like, we collectively like the memory of the game more than I think we like the actual game. That said, I will give it credit, it is one of the better stories. Not for this, though. Like, what are you going to do? Change actors halfway through the movie? Or better yet, keep changing back and forth over and over again? Like, maybe if this was an HBO prestige fantasy drama, but time is limited, and quite honestly, I don't think I need to see child Princess Ruto giving child Link fuck me eyes in live action. And on that same note, Majora's Mask builds off of Ocarina. You might be able to do it if you remove any references to the previous game, but the setting still feels a little niche. Your best bet is the easiest and arguably most basic answer, the current version of Hyrule. But you don't do Tears of the Kingdom. You don't even do the version that introduced us to this Hyrule Breath of the Wild. No. The movie should be based on Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Now hear me out. I get that this is more of a spin-off than a mainline entry, but remove the time travel element to make this canon and not like sci-fi fan fiction, and what you have is the story that actually kicks off what makes this world interesting, while featuring many of the characters from this iteration that people fell in love with. It's dark enough to feel grounded and not just for kids, but lighthearted enough to fit into the summer blockbuster mold, because that's what this is, save Oscar season for Star Fox. It's also the most marketable in 2023. Kind of like how they shoehorned Mario Kart into the Mario movie because Mario Kart continues to be on Nintendo's top sellers list despite being released in 2017. Breath of the Wild was one of the best-selling Zelda games and the game of the year, only to be outdone by Tears of the Kingdom, so you bet your ass Nintendo's going to pounce on that popularity. Lastly, the Zelda game has the most regularly featured characters. Every Zelda game, including Breath and Tears, sees Link as a lone wolf, except for the time he was an actual wolf, oddly. Works for a video game and, like Samurai Jack, but that's about it. The movie needs dialogue, and keeping Link with Mipha, Daruk, Urbosa, and Revali means that we have interactions and a heart to help carry the film. So who plays who? Well, Revali, Daruk, and Mipha are CGI, so we don't have a weird, cat situation on our hands. Brad Garrett is Daruk, because Patrick Warburton plays a little too sarcastic. I think Ryan Reynolds would be the perfect Revali, but he's leading man material now and far too busy building the Canadian cabal to run the world. No, instead I think you get Matthew Lillard, who's starting to have a career resurgence thanks to Five Nights at Freddy's. Not too big of a star to say no, but big enough that he'll sell tickets. Mipha is tough, because you want her to sound young and capable. I think Ariel Winter is a good choice here. She still sounds young, but her experience playing Alex in Modern Family will give her more of an edge to make Mipha's demure nature just a little more palatable. Moving on to our IRL characters, Urbosa. Unless we find a naturally 8-foot-tall, powerful actress for the role, some Lord of the Rings-style shenanigans will be needed. That said, it's a little typecasting, but Denai Guerrero would be perfect. Her presence as Okoye made her a standout star in the already stacked cast of Black Panther while playing a relatively unknown character. As a representative of the Gerudo, this feels like an absolute layup. For the less prevalent characters, I think Jenna Ortega with dyed hair and Harry Potter glasses could make a really good Pura, and Hannah Waddingham could work as Impa. Now, I know that Impa is technically the younger sister of Pura, and that both are portrayed as age-appropriate in Hyrule Warriors, but we are so used to seeing Impa as an older leader type figure, so I think this is where Hollywood takes its liberties with the source material, and it wouldn't ruin much in the long term before introducing a much older Impa down the line during the sequels. King Rome. If you can, Anthony Hopkins. If not, I'm going to go a little far afield here and say John Goodman. Amazing actor with a kind father figure presence. Plus, his voice is just so soothing when he isn't yelling at people. Now, on to the villains. Calamity Ganon doesn't speak. As a matter of fact, we don't hear him speak until the post-credit scene of the second film when he becomes Hot Daddendorf and Matt Mercer does it. We have our secondary villain in Master Koga. Kind of a comic relief, more nuisance than a threat, but still leading a sizable army in the form of the Yiga clan. We never see his face, but much like Sweet Tooth, I still think you have Will Arnett play him. He's the perfect mix of charismatic leader and utter incompetence, and I mean that in the best possible way. Now, the primary villain is Aster, who I think was just in Hyrule Warriors. This is kind of like how Marvel movies would use Ronan the Accuser or Whiplash before bringing out bigger villains down the line. Aster is just the lieutenant so they can kill off in the first film, so Calamity Ganon can loom large over the entire franchise. And I think you shoot for an A-lister like Eddie Redmayne. Big name to draw fans, plus he does Gaunt and Pale very well. Let him sink his teeth into an evil role while not committing to more than one film, so he can run off and do fantastic turfs and where to find them. Now this brings us to our heroes. First, Zelda, who in the current canon is the most fully realized she's ever been without having to masquerade as a ninja or a pirate or whatever. She still has that, "Oh Link, whatever will we do" kind of vibe, but can fend for herself as an actual leader. Now, Anna Taylor-Joy would have been my pick, but she just did Mario, and when the Smash Bros. Movies happens, I want them to be different characters. Instead, I'm going to throw up an up-and-comer here. Someone who is coming fresh off of a different nerdy project that has a lot of buzz behind her, plus experience making things that shouldn't really work. I want Emily Rudd as Zelda. Her work as Nami in One Piece was phenomenal, and I think she can bring both the same combination of strength and vulnerability to this project as well. That just leaves Link. And I'll be honest, I'm racking my brain for this one. Easy money would try to pull Hollywood's resident elf boy Tom Holland, but I think A, he's too busy on Avi Arad's other projects, and B, he's starting to play older now. Like, maybe we can get one Zelda movie out of him, but he's going to age out before we finish the others. Like, Link with a 5 o'clock shadow kind of ruins his whole shut up and be pretty vibe. Instead, you need someone with enough of a name to market the audience, but still very young to last at least 3 films. I think Finn Wolfhard carries these films. The kid already looks like an elf. With his hair lightened to a dirty blonde and some stage combat classes, I think you have a good fit. In that Adam Driver, is he handsome or just an alien kind of way. Now, should Finn be silent? Not without a convincing plot device. I don't think you can have a silent film protagonist and make this last as a franchise, but hey, happy to be proven wrong. So this is the setup. It gives us great intro to all the characters, well portrayed by a star-studded cast with enough chops to flow between weighty fantasy dialogue and funny, kid-friendly quips. We kick off with the Age of Calamity storyline. The heroes defeat Aster and stop Calamity Ganon. The end. Post-credit scene is Pura and Impa chatting about Sheikah technology, while we get the slightest glimpse of Ganon Blight appearing like smoke through the floorboards. The second film kicks off with Link waking up in a cave, unclear of what happened, and the world in the post-apocalyptic state of Breath of the Wild. The movie is putting together the pieces, discovering the fate of his friends, making new friends, and actually defeating Calamity Ganon in an epic battle that is far more satisfying than the boss fight of the game itself. The post-credit scene reveals Mummy Ganondorf as we hear Matt Mercer's voice say something ominous. Years of Critical Role have helped him perfect that. As we set up for movie 3, Tears of the Kingdom. Boom. Look at that. I just made your trilogy, and then if you want, you can deviate with your own approach, or, hell, since Avi Arada's involved, pull a Spider-Man, put someone new in as Link, and start a new trilogy based on Ocarina or Skyward Sword or whatever the hell you want. Rinse, repeat, money printed. So what do you think? If you got better casting, please drop it in the comments below. Otherwise, Miyamoto and Avi, I'll happily take a consultant position, a free pass to the premiere, and a walk-on role as Cass. While I wait for that contract role, I'll take a quick pause, and I will be right back with some Mario 64, but not quite what you're expecting.